Hello everyone and welcome to our countdown of the 10 best things to automate in N-Central Bootcamp with myself, Paul Kelly. Before we go any further, guys, just want to make sure that I've managed to click all the correct buttons and that you can both hear me and see my screen. So maybe if someone can acknowledge that, please, in the questions pane of GoToWebinar. Perfect. Thanks, Nathaniel. So guys, as with all boot camps, this content may contain forward-looking statements regarding future product plans and development efforts. Basically, if we talk about roadmap items today, most likely via the Q&A section, there's no commitment from Enable to deliver on any timeframes that I might suggest out or lay out in this boot camp as well. So just general housekeeping, guys. All attendees are muted. You're more than welcome to ask questions at any time, and please do so via the questions pane of GoToWebinar. You shouldn't have access to the chat section, but if you know someone at GoToWebinar, you got special privileges, and you have access to the chat, don't ask in there, as I won't see them and I won't be able to acknowledge or answer them as well. So use the questions pane throughout. If you're having any audio or visual issues, please let me know as well. Easiest way of doing so is just start frantically typing within the questions pane, and eventually my eye will be drawn over here and I will pick it up as well. And just so you're aware, guys, this session is recorded. It will be posted to Enable You and also the Enable You YouTube channel as well afterwards. This is our first time running the bootcamp, or this particular version of this bootcamp, so it's not currently available, but it will be in the coming weeks as well. So if you want to go back over this, keep an eye out on Enable You or the Enable You YouTube channel as well. And there's a specific Enable Head Nerds Bootcamp playlist available under the Enable You YouTube channel, where you'll find all our bootcamps as well. So for those who don't know me, my name is Paul Kelly. I am a head nerd based in Cork in Ireland. I'm coming up on 10 years now with Enable and other various names of the organization over those 10 years. Prior to joining Enable back in 2015, I worked for two different MSPs in Cork in Ireland. The first was an established organization back in 99, and then I later joined a startup in 2004 after a brief sojourn in Australia. So I've been in the industry now over 25 years. I've worked for both MSPs and obviously more recently with MSPs at my role here at Enable. So trying to approach everything, with what you might be facing in mind as well. I focus on the N-Central platform, obviously, and do a lot of work around automation, security, patching, and optimization as well. If you are only meeting me for the first time, guys, it's a pleasure to meet you too. You're more than welcome to email me at any time at paul.kelly@n-enable.com. So if any questions, queries, anything you need help with, feel free to reach out to me. If I can't help you, I'll find someone who can as well. And if you just want to keep abreast of what I'm up to, what boot camps I'm hosting, what events I'm attending, you can connect with me on LinkedIn at Head Nerd Paul is where you'll find me on LinkedIn as well. Now, a couple of quick commercials to get started before we get stuck into the content today, guys. We'd love for you to share your insights on Enable N-Central. So if you scan the QR code that you see on screen, this will bring you to the G2 review website. And if you leave a review in there, be it positive or negative, but hopefully positive, we will send you an Amazon gift card to the value of $25 US. Now, if you're frantically grabbing for your phone and maybe you weren't expecting to have to scan QR codes, feel free to take a screenshot of this and catch it later, or let me know and I can bring these up at the end as well. Also, guys, the Head Nerds are always producing new content. We write blogs on a monthly basis. So if you want to make sure you never miss an important piece of information for any of the Head Nerds, you can subscribe to the Head Nerd blog mailing list, and we will deliver those blogs directly to your inbox. We have over 600 partners now already subscribed to this. You can also visit enable.com/blog. That's where you'll see the full extent of all Enable blogs, but this mailing list will give you specifically the Head Nerd content that we create and deliver on a monthly basis as well. Particularly important here is every month Lewis produces a patch management or Patch Tuesday blog where it has all the latest information on the vulnerabilities. So this is a great way to ensure that you never miss one of those and have that key information always delivered to your inbox as well. Also, guys, if you're not familiar with it already, we have our Enable All-Star program. And the All-Star program is basically designed to recognize those partners that continually show up for success, whether it's attending Empower, acting as a reference or an advocate for Enable, maybe you're attending an office hours or a boot camp like you're doing now. You are always accruing points. The good thing about this program is we accrue the points for you automatically, so you don't have to do anything on your end. You just basically need to show up for your success. And then each year at our annual Empower event, we recognize those top performing All-Stars across the program for the previous 12 months as well. And speaking of Empower, we just announced our keynote speaker as of yesterday. And as a special incentive for you to register, you can save €100 on your registration ticket if you do so between now and the 3rd of February. So if you haven't already registered, I highly recommend. Spots are filling up fast. There will be limited capacity, unfortunately, due to the event location this year. So you don't want to miss out. I attended an event in the same location last year and it was hugely successful. It's a great location. Berlin is a great city. I've been to Berlin a couple of times last year. And actually was a highlight of all the places I visited in 2024. So if you're not just coming for the Enable content, come to see Berlin. I highly recommend it. I'll be there. I've submitted my webinars, or not my webinars, my PowerPoint presentations for my breakout sessions. So I'm looking forward to being there in person, meeting up with many of you again. So again, you can go to the enable.com/events page. You'll find Empower there and you can register and you'll receive €100 off your registration if you do so between now and the 3rd of February as well. So let's get straight into it today, guys. We have a top 10 countdown of our favorite things. And actually myself and Jason Murphy, I should have an intro slide here, so apologies for that. But we actually went through all the different automation that's available within N-central. And we took our 10 favorite and ranked them from 10 to 1. So you might be able to guess which ones are towards the top of the list. But we've run similar courses like this in the past, but they've kind of been product agnostic. We really wanted to focus on the 10 things that we really think enhance N-central and benefit N-central users as well. And we're going to kick off at number 10 with local admin change monitoring. And what this does is it's an automation policy that can monitor if any users have been added into the administrators group on a local device. And you know, with security so important these days, this is a critical piece of monitoring to have to see if customers are maybe elevating permissions that they shouldn't have that could potentially cause a risk within your customers' environments as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump first into our N-central environment and we're going to load up our Automation Manager because we're going to use Automation Manager to see these policies. I think all 10 policies that we have today are AMP-based policies as such. So we're going to check them out in our Automation Manager and we're going to launch from N-central specifically so that we're linked into the N-central repository. I've already uploaded all the amps that I'm going to show you today into the N-central repository. So we're going to open them up directly from N-central. But after the course today as well, I'm going to give you links to all 10 automation policies as well. So they're all available to download from enable.com/the Automation Cookbook. And if you click into Discover All Scripts in here, you will see over 850 scripts now available, and this is constantly growing as well. So they're up to 879 scripts in total. So there's everything in here from automation policies to PowerShell scripts to mobile device configuration profiles for Apple devices, for example. There's a huge amount of options available in here as such. So if you're looking to do something in N-central and it doesn't do it out of the box, your next step should always be the Automation Cookbook as well. So we're going to bring across our Automation Manager and we're going to head and open up a policy in here as such. Now, I'm not going to do this for every policy that I show you today, but I do want to show you how some of these policies are created and how the output is used within your N-central environment as well. So in this particular case, we're using local admin changes. So we'll pop in here. So we have local admin change monitoring as our policy. So we're going to open up this one. This policy doesn't require any inputs, but it does use global variables, and global variables are just a way of storing a value that we might want to modify or change throughout the policy as such. In this particular case, it's got the admin users list, it's got a change admin users list, and it's got a difference, and that's how we work out if there are any differences. Now, I'm not going to talk you through the whole policy in here. What we're basically doing is we're getting users in the administrator group. We store this information in a registry key, so the next time that we run this policy, then we compare and contrast, and if the lists are different, we can obviously alert to that is the case, and we can show you what the different users are as well. So if we scroll down right through this policy here, you'll scroll down to the end, and you'll see that this policy produces outputs. And outputs are very important when it comes to monitoring within Central, because often people build automation policies, but they don't configure the output parameters. And if you don't configure the output parameters, you're not going to be able to use that piece of monitoring from within your Central environment as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop into our Central environment. And what we're going to do is, if we are adding an automation policy like this particular one that we've downloaded from the Automation Cookbook, to add it to your Central instance, you can, if you've opened up Automation Manager, from Central, you can obviously upload the policy in here, and that will store it into your environment, or you can save it manually. So to save it manually, you're going to come into configuration. You're going to go to schedule tasks, and you're going to go to the scripts and software repository. And in here, then you'll click on add, you'll choose automation policy, you'll browse to the location of that file, and you can upload it and store it within your script and software repository. Once you have that AMP in place, you can then come down to administration. You can go to services, and you can go to custom services, and you can create a piece of monitoring that you can use on your end users' devices. So we're going to go ahead and click on add. We're going to click on services and automation manager policy. And in here, we're going to find a policy that we want to use. In this case, it's local admin changes. I'm going to copy and paste the name of that, and you can pop this onto your Windows devices. So your servers, your workstations, your laptops. You can choose how many instances. Realistically, you're not going to need more than one, so we don't need to have the option of 100. So we're going to bring that right down here. In terms of a schedule, you can choose the frequency that you want to do this. So this may be something that you don't want to run every 10 minutes on a device, or maybe you do to have up-to-date information, but you can be more granular in here. So if you don't want to run this policy 2 or 3 times a day, for example, you can adjust that accordingly as well. And then under your thresholds, and it's going to pop a little BC at the end here, we can determine if we want to alert on this or not. So if the value contains no change, for example, we will mark it as so if the string contains no change, we'll mark it as normal. If the value displays something else, we'll mark it as failed. And in the other two, the old list and the current list, we might just pop this as no threshold. And we can pop that in down here as well. And what we're going to do in this particular instance, we're going to switch it around. So it's never going to actually return no threshold as a result. But by switching these values here, so if string does not contain no threshold, we'll mark it as normal. If by some crazy reason it returns the value of no threshold, we'll mark it as failed here as such. And by building your monitoring there, you can ensure that only on the key value that you want to be alerted on will be alerted in this automation policy as well. So once you have completed this, you go ahead and save it, and then you can add it to a device manually, or you can add it as part of a service template. I've already added it to my devices, and we have plenty of boot camps that show you how to build out monitoring templates as well. But if you need more information, please let me know. In the case of my device, we're going to pop into Pete Kelly 4, and we're going to click on our monitoring tab. And here we have our local admin change monitoring. So I just manually added this by clicking the add button on this particular device. I found the local admin changes that I want to add. So in here, it was local admin change monitoring. I already added the one instance that I had, so I can't add any more in here. And then if we take a look at the monitoring, we can see what's displayed in here as such. So the add or use or remove is no change, and we can see the last list compared to the recent list, and these are identical as well. So if someone does add a local admin user, and I'm not going to do it to my device because the last time I did, I got a rap on the knuckles from our IT security team. But we can go back in time by looking at the reports tab to see exactly when that happened as such. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to get a detailed status report. And I'm going to go back as far as mid-December. So we're going to go to December 2024, pop in the 15th. If we view that report on screen here now, we can see exactly when I made changes in my environment. And we can see that's reflected as we scroll down here in regards to when this was detected as such as well. So detected that it was running on the machine, it just found a new user and remained failed until it scanned again. And I think I had this set to run every few hours in my case as well. So the local admin change monitoring, guys, is a great way to have another layer of security and ensure that, you know, maybe tech-savvy end users aren't elevating their privileges within their own environment. That could potentially cause a risk throughout that environment by having elevated admin privileges on devices when it's not needed as well. Now, at 9, we have battery health monitoring. And again, this is a useful one to have as more and more people switch from using workstations to laptops. You know, degraded batteries can often impact how someone can do a job, particularly on the move. You know, they're always, you see it at the airports, people scrambling to look for those 1 or 2 sockets that actually work to plug in their devices and charge as such. People charge all their other devices off their laptops as well, and this runs down the battery. So having insights on the battery so that you can actually, you know, preempt replacement batteries and actually go to your customers and say, look, we're monitoring the batteries on your laptop devices. We've seen that they're being degraded. So we have a replacement battery available for you here should you wish to purchase it, for example, as such. And that way you can ensure that they have the longevity that they need on the battery life to run their devices as well. So again, this is something that can be used for monitoring purposes. Again, it's an AMP. So if we jump back into our Automation Manager, we're going to click on File and browse our N-Central. And this time around, we're going to choose Battery Health. So we can see battery capacity monitoring. So while the first AMP that we showed you here is using all the different modules and widgets and commandlets within Automation Manager, this particular AMP is just using the run PowerShell script. So we're just using this code to get the information. But again, we're producing the output so we can actually see this information and use this information for monitoring purposes within N-Central as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this AMP on my device using Automation Manager. It takes a few seconds to run, and you can see here it's produced our output. So we have the battery capacity left is at 100%. We can see the design capacity versus the full capacity, the number of batteries found in the system, and details about this battery as well. Now, thankfully, my battery is at 100% because it's a brand new laptop. I got it a couple of months ago, so I'd be expecting my battery capacity to be 100%. When I ran this script last year, my old laptop was down to about 67%. So you can see how that's valuable information that you can use for monitoring purposes again. Again, this is uploaded to our N-Central environment. So if I had made changes to this policy, for example, and it already exists, you can overwrite it, or you could upload it as an additional AMP as well, but I've already added it as well. Now, we're not going to go through the process of creating a custom monitor, but let's pop back into N-Central and look at what that battery monitoring looks like as well. So here we have our battery monitoring. And again, you can see the same information that is displayed within Automation Manager is now displayed within our N-Central environment. So the capacity is at 100%, and that's really the only metric that I'm concerned with as such. Once this goes below a certain level, I might first generate a warning and then a failure if it drops even further again. And when you obviously add monitoring in N-Central, simply turning off the thresholds will allow you to focus just on the actual information that's relevant to you and that you want to generate alerts on as well. So we used the no threshold metric earlier on, but if you add battery monitoring maybe to your default laptop Windows service template, for example, you can change these values and these thresholds just off. So I'm going to show you how to do that now. So we're going to pop back into configuration monitoring service templates. We're going to find our laptop Windows service template. I think it's laptops Windows, excuse me. So here we have our cloned one that we're using within our environment at the moment. I don't have battery capacity monitoring added just yet, but if I pop in BATTERY or I put in battery monitoring, I can click it and add this as a service. So this means that all my laptop Windows devices will automatically have this template or this service item applied to them, but I can come in here and I can actually turn off the values that I'm not concerned with as such. So by setting all these off in here, then only the metric that I want to alert on, which is the actual percentage capacity left, is going to generate an alert here as well. So this way you can really streamline how you can push out these custom monitors in your N-Central environment as well. So before we move on to the next one, a question from Nicholas. In the event the Automation Cookbook does not contain a policy and you created one, can we as the community upload our policies to assist fellow engineers? So Nicholas, unfortunately you can't upload directly to the Automation Cookbook. We do have a, I suppose, some filtering controls over that as such. So when you go to the Automation Cookbook, there's an option in there to submit a script, or alternatively, you can send your script directly to myself or one of the other head nerds. We'll review it, test it, and then pop it up into the Automation Cookbook if we have the ability to do so as well. We'll also obviously may reach out to anyone that submits a script, maybe to have a quick conversation. So in the event that someone has created a script where we cannot potentially maybe test it in our own lab environments, we'll do a call with them to actually kind of validate the script and what it does. And of course, we will then obviously give credit to those partners that share those scripts as well. So if you have anything that you feel would benefit the community, feel free to submit them through the Automation Cookbook webpage, drop directly to me, Mark Andre, Jason Murphy, or any other head nerds, and we'd be happy to review and post them. We are always looking for new content to grow the Automation Cookbook. So I hope that answers your question, Nicholas, as well. So next on the list is a Chrome extension installer, and this policy will add a Chrome extension to all locally logged on users on a device. So this is particularly handy now with more and more extensions being added. If you want to have something like the Passportal extension added to all your customers' devices, or if there's something like Google Translate, Adobe, for example, could be something AI related for a ChatGPT plugin, whatever it may be. This policy allows you to deploy the extensions across all users and devices. And this is great for onboarding new devices as well. So we're going to jump back into our Automation Manager, click and browse in Central, and we're going to choose Chrome Installer in here. So we have Chrome Extension Installer. And what this policy does is it actually writes the installation key into the registry based on the extension ID. So you do need to specify an ID when you're running this as such. So you need to get the relevant ID that you want to deploy within your devices. So to get your Chrome extension ID, you're going to go to the Chrome Web Store. You can see here the different categories available to you. So if we want to go to tools as opposed to entertainment, we might want to have, I'm going to choose a small PDF as an example as such. So when we click on small PDF, this is the Chrome extension code that we're going to require in order to install it in our environment. So we go ahead and copy that. If we come back into our N-Central environment, if I wanted to add small PDF across all my devices, rather than doing it manually, I can create a scheduled task profile, which then allows all new devices as you're onboarded get that policy run as well. So if we come down to configuration and we go to schedule tasks and profiles, I'm going to click on add to create a new scheduled task profile. I'm going to call this install small PDF extension. Chrome, we're going to click on add and use automation policy. We're going to choose Chrome installer in here. We're going to pop in our extension ID. We're going to call this small. Now, I randomly picked small PDF. I'm not in any way advocating small PDF. You can use whichever you want. In terms of schedule, we're just going to do this once, because once it's installed, and we're not going to generate any notifications. So I have created our scheduled task profile. It's only doing one, but you could actually add multiple different extensions in here. So if there's 3 or 4 extensions that you want to add, you can go ahead and add them as well. And we'll go ahead and save that. And now what we can do is we come up to our rules, and we can go down and click on an existing rule. So we can go to our maybe workstation Windows rule here, or we could create a new rule for this as well. And we can go to our scheduled task profile, and we can see our install small PDF extension. So what this will mean now is all my existing customers that meet the filter criteria, which is Windows workstations, which is these devices. If I go ahead and click on save, small PDF will be deployed to Chrome on all those devices as such. So you can see how using a scheduled task profile to take an action can actually really ease how you onboard and add software and and extensions to browsers into your customers' environments as well. At 7, my lucky number, because I was born in the 7th to 7th, I'm probably giving away too much information there, is lock desktop if user is inactive. And again, this is critical in this day and age. More and more people are working on the go, working remotely. How often have you been sitting at an airport, in a coffee shop, and there's a laptop sitting on a desk and it's completely open to the world? The user's gone up to get a coffee, he's gone for 2 seconds. It only takes a second for someone to grab some information off that particular device. So what this does is it can ensure that if you do walk away, you get distracted and you leave your device unattended, that it will always lock within a certain time frame of inactivity as such as well. So again, this is a policy that I cannot run because we're in the middle of a webinar, and obviously we don't want to lock my laptop while we're doing it. But we're going to just show you the thing here. So lock desktop if user is inactive. So in this particular policy, in the input parameter, you can actually specify how long the inactivity is in minutes. Now, by default, it's 30 minutes. So if I go ahead and run this as such, it will run on my device. It'll find that it's not inactive for 30 minutes and no action will be taken. Now, if we come down here and scroll through the list, you'll see that the value is greater than or equal to. So if you want to test this out yourself later on when you download it, you can actually set this to input value to 0, and you can say if the inactivity is greater than or equals to 0, and then run it on your device. You will see that it'll lock your laptop as well. So that's, or lock your desktop, excuse me. So that's how you can ensure to test this one. But a great one to have, and again, a policy that you can deploy out to your customers' devices. And this is something that can run every 5 minutes, for example, as part of a scheduled task profile to ensure that your devices are secure in the event that they're being left unattended within a public area as well. Next on our list, number 6, is operating system end of support date. I think it's always important to know this information, particularly now as Microsoft have been, I suppose, more aggressive in moving people on from Windows 7 to Windows 8 to Windows 10 to now Windows 11 and depreciating support for older operating systems a lot quicker than they used to in the past as well. So it's always good to know where you stand and where your customers stand in terms of the version of Windows they're running and the end of support date for those Windows as well, because these are key conversations that you need to have to your customer. And it also shows that you're taking, you're looking at all aspects of the device. You're future-proofing the devices. You're not just being reactionary to fix problems as they occur, but you're ensuring that you have all the information to hand so that it can be as secure and up to date as possible as well. So if we jump back into Automation Manager again, we're going to click on File and browse our End Central instance, and we're going to find our Windows OS end of support date. And what this is, it's another PowerShell policy. So we're finding out the type of device, first of all, to find out if it's a server or workstation. And we're doing that because this particular policy queries two different APIs using the end of life date. So depending on whether it's a server or workstation, it needs to pull the information from different locations as such. But it does provide us with information like the name and version of Windows that we're running, when this was released, the end of support date, how many days are left, and the days left before it goes end of life as well. And again, this is something that we've uploaded into our End Central environment. We have gone and created a custom service. And again, this is something that you could apply as part of your generic Windows workstation, Windows laptop service template to have this information to hand within your devices as such. If we come back up to our All Devices view in here, and we're going to click into the P. Kelly 4 device here again, click on Monitoring. Conveniently enough, I've already added it to my device. So we see Windows OS version end of support date. And in here, I can see the information. So I can see the version here. So I'm running Windows 11 23H2. I can see when this was released. I can see the end of support date for the current version is the 11/11/2025. I'm 287 days away from this as such as well. And these are what we're alerting on really, is the end of days before end of life. And this is what's going to trigger a notification. The metrics I've set is kind of under a month is failure. 1 to 3 months is warning, and then anything above 3 months, for example, would be classified as normal. So, but you can modify these thresholds when you implement this custom service within your environment as well. At 5, so we're halfway through the list already, guys. We have Microsoft Office version monitoring and update. Now, of all the things, I probably argued for this to be a bit higher, purely because when I ran it the first time around a couple of years ago, it wowed me the most. Well, it didn't actually wow me as such. Initially, I thought it was making up stuff, because when I ran it initially on my machine, it told me I was 59 versions out of date. And I said, that couldn't possibly be the case. And I looked at the version that it was telling me it was on. I confirmed that that version actually was the version I was running. And I actually went to Microsoft and actually finger counted up every one of the versions that have been released since. And for some reason, when I started working remotely, my device got lost in the ether somewhere, and Microsoft wasn't getting Office updates to it. So I then ran the update script, which actually brought it instantly up to date as well. So this is, again, is a great way of ensuring that Office on your devices, Microsoft 365, is up to date within your customers' environments as such. So the nice thing about using the version monitoring is, in conjunction with the update script, and I'm going to send you both scripts after the bootcamp today as well, is you could actually have the update script trigger as a self-healing action in the event that the thresholds are crossed within the monitoring as well. So let's first of all go ahead and look at the monitoring aspect of this script. So we're going to go File, and we're going to browse End Central. We're going to choose Office version, and it's Office version monitor in my case here as such. So if we take a look at the script here, again, it's another example of a PowerShell. And if we run this on my particular device, it should run, and hopefully it'll tell me that I'm up to date. So it tells me the version I'm on, and it tells me that I am no versions behind, which is great. But if I were finding myself that I was a few versions behind. And again, this is a great one to run as a test in your own environment after the boot camp today as well. See if you have any devices that are out of date, and then try the upgrade policy to see how it brings it up to speed. And then you can rerun this test again afterwards, and it should tell you your no version's up to date if it's successful as well. So if we pop in here again and we choose the Office update. So here we see Microsoft Office update script. And what this does, again, it's just an hour PowerShell script that actually triggers the upgrade policy on your device as well. So this is what can be set as a self-healing action. So if we jump into our N-Central environment again, I'm going to pop down to my device and go to Office version monitoring. And in here, I can see that the threshold I'm concerned with in this particular case is how many versions behind. So I'm leaving myself a little leeway here. So if I'm anywhere between 1 and 2 versions behind, we're going to say that's okay. We're not out of control. If it's 3 to 5 versions behind, okay, we're saying that's a warning and I want to flag that. And if I'm more than 5 versions behind, I'm going to say that's an issue as such, and that needs to be something that needs to be rectified. Now, if this obviously goes into fail state, I can manually trigger the update. But as I mentioned, you could also build in a self-healing action here. So if it goes failed, you can choose to execute a self-healing action, and then you can choose what that self-healing action would be. In this case, it would be execute an automation policy, which would be the Office update. If I could spell, I'd be spell and type. So here we see our Microsoft Office update. So here you can see now that in the event of this service item failing in future, the Office update can be triggered automatically in your N-Central environment. And again, this is something that you can build into a service template. So you don't have to manually assign a custom service to all devices as such. You can do this as part of your service templates as well. So we're going to come back down to configuration, monitoring, and service templates. Again, we're going to pick on our laptops Windows. So we'll use our cloned one in here. And again, if we want to put in our Office monitoring, for example, we're going to pop in our Office version monitoring in here. So this way it'll apply to all our laptop devices. Again, under the thresholds tab, we can say, okay, this is off. This is no threshold. So this is off. This is the partial version code, that's off. And the last version is off as well. And these are the values. If you don't want to set it to 0 and 2, you can obviously customize these if you want as well. So if you want to say, okay, if I'm no versions behind, I'm normal, but if I'm 1 version behind, I'm warning, and 2 versions behind, I'm failing it, you can adjust that accordingly as well. But if we click into our self-healing tab in here, this again is where we can configure the self-healing. So we can choose execute self-healing action, and then we can determine what that action would be. And in this particular case, it would be the update Office. So Microsoft Office update. And again, you can see now if I go ahead and save that, it is part of my default service template for my laptop Windows. I can repeat this process on my workstation Windows template as well. And if I go ahead and save this now, that'll apply out to all the existing devices and any future devices that are added into your N-Central environment as well. Nathaniel says it's worth noting the script will force close off if someone has it open. That's a very fair point, Nathaniel. So again, with all these custom policies, test them within your own environments. First of all, test them in your own devices, see how they work as well, just to be sure that you're comfortable with how the actions are triggered on your end users' devices as well. Now, next on the list is the upgrade Microsoft Store apps, and Microsoft Store apps actually have their own update procedure, which is separate to patch management. So if you run patch management on a Windows device manually, or if you're running patch management through N-Central, it cannot update the Microsoft Store apps. Now, where this can become problematic is if you ever have external pen testers in and you have out-of-date apps in Microsoft Store, that can have a negative result for your pen test as such. So what this AMP allows you to do is actually automatically trigger any updates that might be pending within Microsoft Store environment as such. So again, this is something that you could run as part of a scheduled task profile on a recurring basis to ensure the policies are up to date. So we're going to jump back into our Automation Manager. We're going to click on Browse in Central again, and we're going to choose Store this time, and we can see Upgrade Microsoft Store Apps. We'll go ahead and we'll view that policy. Again, this is just a simple script that triggers the upgrade process on a device. But I run it in our environment, and I bring up my Microsoft Store. What this will do is you can see that it's going to begin the update process of these laps here. So we can see the update has started, and this will update these devices as such as well. So again, we have a way of updating these applications within our environment so that we can get the make sure that we have the very latest updates. And obviously we can, when we have pen testing in, we can ensure that all bases are covered with our patch management, as well as running this automation policy to update these apps as well. So this again is a great way of updating these apps within the environment as well. We're nearly there with the top 3, guys. So the next on the list is install Chocolatey package. So, in Central, there are many ways you can deploy software applications to devices. You can do so by creating a script or an automation policy that installs the application that you want. But often, we find ourselves deploying multiple different applications to multiple different customers. And if we're constantly building scripts or automation policies for all these different applications, it can be a very high workload as such. So by leveraging something like Chocolatey, for example, we can actually use and select from their pre-category list of applications that are available. I think there's something like 9,000 or 10,000 different applications that you can install now. So what this automation policy does is, first of all, it checks to see if Chocolatey is installed on the device that you are running it against. It then if it finds that it's missing, installs the Chocolatey application. And once Chocolatey application is installed on the device locally, it then installs the applications that you want to install or you've specified as an input parameter as well. This uses comma separated values. So if you have multiple applications that you want to install, so maybe you want to install Google Chrome, VLC, 7-zip, and Adobe Reader, for example, you can put all those installation packages in with a semicolon separated or a comma separated value. We'll check it in policy in a moment, and it will install all those applications for you. So if we jump back into our Automation Manager, we click on File and Browse in Central. We're going to find Chocolatey here. So install Chocolatey package. So we go ahead and view this as such. So you can see here, we're seeing if Chocolatey is installed already, and if it's not, we're going to download and install it. But the input parameter here is what's important. So in this particular case, it's using a comma separated value. So Google Chrome, VLC, and WinRAR are kind of the defaults that we have in here. So we're going to use this AMP on a manual basis. So I might have a new device within a customer's environment that I want to deploy an application to. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump back into our N-Central server, click on our All Devices view, and I'm going to choose my server 2022, which hopefully is still open. So we'll click on OK, just about. No, I think we lost it. So we need to reconnect. So let's go ahead and close the session here. I probably clicked on the wrong thing. We're going to click on Take Control again. So in here, we're going to, first of all, check to see if the application is installed. I might want to install something like 7-zip. It's my favorite zip tool. So I'm going to use Chocolatey to do that as well. So I do not want to install a new viewer of the Take Control viewer now. I just want to install, open up Take Control. So here we have our applications that are installed on this device. I've been testing this already today. So we see Notepad++ and Google Chrome have already been installed. But what we're going to do is we're going to jump into our chocolatey.org/packages, and we can see all the different packages that are available here. We're just going to make a little copy and paste of our 7-zip. So this is the information that we need here. I'm going to copy it all and move it in a moment. Then our all devices view, we're going to click on the device that we want to target. In this particular case, I'm going to click on run an automation policy. We're going to use the install Chocolatey package. And in here, the only thing we're going to specify is the packages to install as such. So in my particular case, I'm just going to leave in 7-zip in here. So we're going to take out everything else. We only need the package name. And then I'm going to give this automation policy a name as well. So we'll call this install Chocolatey package 7-zip. It's always good to use unique naming conventions so that we know exactly what each one is doing. I'm just targeting a single device, but I can actually target multiple devices if I wanted to do so here as well. And we're going to run this right now. And I can actually be notified once this task's finished as well. But we'll go ahead and click on save. So the automation policy is going to run on this particular device. It's going to first of all check to ensure the Chocolatey executable is installed on the machine. Once it's confirmed it's done so, it's then going to install that package. And when this policy finishes, it will, of course, have 7-zip installed on the machine if it's not going to make a liar out of me as well. So again, think of onboarding new customers and think about the applications that you use on a day-to-day basis. There may be certain applications that you find you're always installing on end users' devices, particularly when you take on a new customer. These might be tools that you use within your own organization to better support your customers' devices. You can actually build out a list of applications and use this install Chocolatey package in a custom property, in a scheduled task profile to automatically deploy these properties as well. And if you have a different list of applications for different customers or different device classes, for example, you can actually also leverage custom properties to store those values and use them as inputs then into your automation policy, so that customer A might have 3 different applications installed, where customer B might have 5 applications installed. So this is where you really start to automate more and more of the kind of laborious, repetitive work that we find ourselves doing a lot of the time. It's easy work, it's no problem doing it because it's simple, but who wants to do simple, repetitive tasks over and over again? No one say yes, me in the comments. We want to do more interesting stuff. We want to be challenged and stuff, and the more we can automate, the better it is for our customers and supporting them in a timely fashion as well. So we can see here now, I've managed to talk for long enough that the installation package is complete. We jump back into our computer where we've targeted, we do a refresh and we can see 7-zip has been installed on this particular machine. We can click on our Win thing here now and we'll see our 7-zip installer is installed on the machine here as well. So you can see how easy it is to deploy applications using this install Chocolatey package option as well. So it's a great way of mass deploying multiple applications to your customers' devices as well. Now, next on the list is probably I'd have it at 1. Jason wanted 1 at 1, so I conceded to this one. He made concessions elsewhere, but it's to remove bloatware. And I suppose why I am so fond of this particular piece of automation is for many a year, I would sit in the prep room with 10, 20 different machines as they're about to send them out and ship them out to customers. And I'd take them all out of the boxes and I'd fire them on, and I would find myself manually removing all the bloatware that comes with a new HP or Dell machine. It's been a long time since I've done it, but I'm sure it's no different today than it was 10 years ago. I wasted years of my life removing all these unnecessary bloatware applications. So this actually is an example of a script that Marc-Andre took from a partner, and then the partner built it into PowerShell, and Marc-Andre moved it into an AMP so it can be used within your End Central environment. So we're going to jump back into Automation Manager. We click on File and Browse. And what I want to highlight in here is what I consider bloatware. Maybe you don't, or maybe you want to keep in on devices as well. So if you look at this policy when you actually get access to it and you open up in your Automation Manager, you'll see by editing the policy all the different applications that are removed as part of this script here as well. So these are all the unnecessary applications that we're removing here as such. But let's say actually I don't want to remove Microsoft News. I love Microsoft News. So I can hash that out by simply putting a hash line in here. And as you scroll further down through the list as well, you'll see that there is additional options in here that have been hashed out already that you can choose to include as well. So if there's stuff that is on the list that you don't want to get rid of, for example, you simply remove the hashes from them, and that way they won't, or they will also be removed as part of the policy. I might have gone too far down the list here. But again, if there is additional stuff that you don't want to remove, or you do want to remove, for example, maybe you want to get rid of Bing Weather, maybe you want to get rid of the Windows Store, for example, so people can't download store apps there as such, you can have them removed using this mechanism as well. So again, a great little policy that can be run as part of a scheduled task profile again. So all these policies that we looked at today can either enhance the monitoring or enhance the onboarding of your customers' devices as well. I'm sure you're all eagerly excited to see what number one is, and I should reveal it. No guesses in the chat as to what it is, so here we go. And it is Bitlocker Status, and I'm particularly Bitlocker Status V2. So over the years here at Enable, we've had various different versions of Bitlocker Status monitoring available within the Automation Cookbook. But with the V2 status, it just goes a little bit further. Such what we found in the past is certain newer devices, particularly devices being shipped by Dell, were coming with Bitlocker partially enabled on devices as such. And unless your technicians completed the process upon initial boot up, if you ran certain monitoring within an environment, it would actually report to say Bitlocker is enabled when it wasn't fully encrypted as such. So the Bitlocker V2 status not only ensures that your device has encryption enabled, but also ensures that there is a recovery key. And if there's no recovery key there, it's an indication that the process hasn't completed, in which case you want to alert to it. So this gives you all the information in one easy to monitor, easy to use guide as well. So if you pop back into our N-Central environment, we're not going to look at the automation policy because again, it's just PowerShell code. But if we pop back up to our all devices screen in here, we can click on our PK device, we can click on our monitoring tab, and I can click on Bitlocker Status V2, and I can see all the information here. So I can see that it's turned on. I have the Bitlocker system drive protection on, which is the most important one. I can see C drive is fully encrypted. There's no system drive that doesn't have it enabled on it. And then I can see if there's any additional drives in here as well that may need to have Bitlocker encrypted, and also my Bitlocker recovery key as well. You can also run other automation policies that get your Bitlocker encryption keys and write those out to things like custom properties. That is a useful way as well, because obviously if the monitoring is offline, this will just show us no information returned. You can obviously go into the service availability and get the raw monitored metrics, and it gives you the information here as well, but that will only store the information for a certain period of time. So I think it's limited to 90 days. So if you have a device that's offline for longer than that, it's important that you store these recovery keys maybe in custom properties as well. And with that, guys, that completes our top 10 countdown of the favorite, Jason and myself's favorite things to automate in N-Central. Like all boot camps, guys, we want to find out how valuable this training was for you today. So 5 being very valuable and 1 being not valuable at all. I'm going to pop the poll up on screen now. Hopefully everyone, I always say to anyone that attends these types of training, if you can just take 1 or 2 things away from a boot camp like this and implement it in your own environment, then you're already saving time, you're doing more, you're automating more, and you're kind of continuing the journey as to potentially looking at other ways you can unlock automation potential within your N-Central environment as well. A couple of questions coming in, guys. So if you do have any further questions, we do have a few minutes before the top of the hour. And Nathaniel says, do I have a handout with the download links for all the amps? So I'm going to personally email you all the links to the articles in the Automation Cookbook with all the amps that I've shown you here today. So I think there's going to be 11 in total, because we had the 2-for-1 on the Office version monitoring, the Office update. So Nathaniel, you can expect that within the next hour or so. I just have to wait for GoToWebinar to generate the report. So I have all the people that turned up today's email addresses, and I'll fire that off to you then as well. We also have a question, Paul. Glad to hear info on automation policies, though. I just want to know, are all these policies in there for everyone to use, or can we create custom policies as you stated? So all the policies that I've showed you today are available through the Automation Cookbook, but you can obviously create your own policies as well. And if you have policies that aren't currently listed in the Automation Cookbook, but you think would add value, as we said earlier, you're more than welcome to share with us as well, and we can populate them in the Automation Cookbook. So the ones we've shown you today are all custom policies that have been built over the last few years and added to the Automation Cookbook. So they're not available out of the box in N-Central. So you do have to download these and add them to your N-Central instance, but you can also create your own automation policies as well. So we have most of the votes in, so we'll go ahead and we'll close off that. If we have any further questions, guys, please feel free to ask them now. Just a couple of reminders. Coming up next Tuesday, we have another new bootcamp where we look at active issues and how to manage them with pivot tables and address issues within a more I suppose, optimized way of approaching targeting active issues. So if you are one of those people that click on the active issues tab and a cold shudder runs down your back at the number in the bottom right hand corner, this is definitely the boot camp for you. Like all our N-Central boot camps, will be running 2 sessions this time slot, which I run, and obviously the later time slot, depending where you're located in the world, which Jason Murphy runs as well. So if you haven't already registered for that, you can go to enable.com/events and check out the N-Central Active Issues Bootcamp. Also next Tuesday, it's the N-Central Office Hours, and for February, I can't believe it's February already, this month has flown by. And this month, I'm going to be joined by Dave Lefkowitz. And Dave Lefkowitz actually runs our Technology Alliance program here at Enable. And this is where we have a wide spread of third-party integrations with multiple different vendors. So if you're not aware of all the potential partners that integrate with N-Central, make sure you sign up for the N-Central Office Hours. And obviously, if there's integrations that you'd like to see, for example, you want more information, certain integrations, this is going to be a great resource to get information on that as well. So make sure you check out the N-Central Office Hours for February as well. So we don't have any further questions coming in, guys. So I think we'll get you away a couple of minutes early today. So thanks for your attendance. A reminder, this is the first time we've run this bootcamp, so it's not quite yet ready to go into Enable You or the Enable You YouTube channel, but it should be available online in the coming weeks through these channels as well. Of course, I will be dropping you an email with the links to all the automation that we've seen here today. If you have any questions with regards to what we've talked about here today or anything in general, you'll be getting an email from me shortly, so you're more than welcome to follow me using that channel as well. So thank you all for your attendance, guys. Have a great rest of your day, and hopefully we'll see you next week on the Active Issues Bootcamp along with the N-Central Office Hours, and we'll talk to you then. Bye for now.